Hi, this is Ruth Heidebrock, and this podcast is powered by the Mitt TV of Romeo, Michigan. If you're looking to start a podcast for your business or personal use, look no further than the Mitt TV. Their in-studio podcast experience allows you to record perfect audio and capture amazing video. That's all right here at the Mitt TV podcast studio in Romeo, Michigan. Contact them now via email for a free consultation and to schedule a studio visit at mitt.tvpodcast@gmail.com. That's mitt.tvpodcast@gmail.com.
All right. Hey, I'm here with Joe Young. This is Donna Folan. We just got back from being out in the field at the future green space on Prospect Street. I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Donna Foland, and my family and I have lived in Romeo for about 35 years now. And I've been involved with the Green Space on Prospect Street group for about the past year and a half. We'll tell you more about that project in a minute. A little bit more about me. My day job is I'm with the planning unit at Oakland County Parks, and work parks throughout Oakland County. So I've spent my life working for open space. I used to be the director of the Six Rivers Land Conservancy, and so the opportunity to work with some open space and try to preserve green space for folks here at home is really exciting for me. And Joe, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. So I'm Joe Young. I grew up in Romeo schools and everything. I went to the middle school that's now our opportunity on Prospect Street. And then did my undergrad at Oakland in environmental science. And now I'm a forest ecologist at MSU doing a PhD with them, looking at tree productivity, ecosystem dynamics, all that type of stuff. And of course, I've been interested in this property on Prospect for a few years now. And it's been great to see how it's developing and be able to get more involved with that as time has gone on and discuss with you, of course, sort of all the ideas and engage with the community on that.
It's been great. The Green Space and Prospect Street group, we started up about a year ago, and we saw the opportunity that the schools were buildings were demolished in 2021, and we were looking at potential of there being 14 to 17 homes in that spot, and knowing just how much time in nature to relax and to play, and seeing kids out in that empty space flying kites and families hanging out there, it would be such a shame to lose it, because once it's gone, it's gone. And so we have been working to raise funds to purchase the property and set it aside in perpetuity as a green space. It's like a 4.5 acre property altogether. And we are looking at establishing establishing an arboretum on the property, and doing some restoration that we'll talk more about. But right now, we're coming down to the wire. We are short of our fundraising goal by about $150,000. We are expecting by the end of the year to make an offer to the school board to purchase the property. We have a very important meeting that's coming up at on the 25th, next Wednesday, at the community center at 6:30. Hoping to see lots of folks there. We're going to talk about how we're going to meet that final fundraising goal, and also start organizing ourselves for the entity that's going to manage it into the future. And so we're real excited about that. We have a email list of about 400 people. We have about 40 folks who have been involved along the way. And so anybody who loves nature and likes to work outside, please come and join us. So some of the main elements, I think Joe's going to talk to us a bit about that. Joe?
Yeah, definitely. So I think there's a few large foundational pieces that we've been talking about. The two large, or maybe the three largest areas would be one, a larger open mode area for play, recreational use, all that type of stuff. And then the Arboretum, as you had mentioned, and of course the oak savanna restoration. And the Arboretum is something that is definitely become an important project for me. Uh, I worked with the tree board for a few years, just consulting as a certified arborist with them. And I've gotten to see Romeo's tree canopy in sort of a new light. And Romeo's a really interesting place. We have so many of these really old trees, and some of these trees are found on Prospect Street. But in general, there's also a problem in Romeo with establishing those new trees and the maintenance of those old trees. So I see this sort of arboretum as a way to show, the whole life of trees. We have these mature ones on the property that can be taken care of. We can introduce new species there, from seedlings to ball and burlap, putting 7-foot trees in the ground, uh, and then take care of them in a way that'll preserve them into longevity. Forests are never stagnant, whether it's out in the middle of nowhere or if it's the forest that surrounds us in urban spaces. And it's important to think about how they're turning over. So it's been really great that there's so much support on this project to think about, this property and the space around it as sort of a living entity that can change over time, be educational, all that type of stuff. But so for the Arboretum, we're looking at hitting a goal of about 25 different woody species. And that gives us the opportunity to apply for accreditation with ArborNet, who just keep track of arboretums around the country. It's through the Morton Arboretum, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and it gives a really great framework to sort of build off of, and is flexible enough that we'll be able to apply it to the native species that we want to be cultivating in Romeo, um, and give us a long-term sort of management strategy. Uh, and then this other larger sort of half would be the oak savanna restoration. And so, as sort of two sides of a coin, Romeo has a very, very long history in terms of our relationship to the natural areas around us. To my knowledge, came out being sort of the lumber industry, somewhere you would stop, go to the bank, get food as you go up to logging country up further north. So this has been an important part of the history of natural resources in Southeast Michigan, and something that used to be very common on our landscapes pre-industrial revolution was oak savannas, which are not quite a forest and not quite a prairie. They're somewhere in the middle, and these create really valuable habitat for all kinds of wildlife, whether it's just pollinators, butterflies, things like that, and then even getting to larger things. There's certain sort of mammals that are really dependent on these ecosystems, small mammals, all the way up to deer and all that type of stuff. And then it's just important refuges for some more endangered plant species. But so this used to be a type of ecosystem that was really common throughout Southeast Michigan, and particularly in Oakland and in Macomb counties, where Romeo kind of sits straddling that border, getting close to it. And it's a ecosystem type that's become endangered, just as any animal can go endangered or plant ecosystems do as well. So being that we have this large area, it's a really great opportunity to try to restore some of that natural area and some of those resources that were part of how Romeo came to be, and the type of landscapes that indigenous people would have seen here centuries and centuries ago and would have been stewards of. So it'd be great to continue that sort of legacy, maintain those native species on the landscape. Those native species, I think, we talk about what the value of natives is, but it's rare that I find people fully appreciate it. We talk about bee decline and stuff like that, and we have our honeybees. They're taken care of like cattle. We take care of them, but so much pollination, even of our human food chain, comes from these smaller little black bees and bumblebees and all that type of stuff, and they're really directly dependent on having these variety of floral resources. There's certain plant species that are important to deterring parasites inside of bees and just their physiology and overall health, that under climate change are just going to become more and more rare. So as much as we can preserve them on the landscapes, it's going to help preserve the human food web. It'll preserve the broader ecology of the more naturalized areas surrounding Romeo. So I think that this is a really great opportunity to have sort of that mix of this more urban developed area with the arboretum, and show that it's compatible to still have with this more naturalistic landscape. It's not one side or the other. It's a continuum that we can definitely be in.
Seems like it could be provide a demonstration.
Yes, absolutely.
As folks get used to, what native plants look like and how they're beautiful in the landscape, and sort of adjust that view to show them how they can do that on their own properties.
Yeah, it also might be an opportunity to show what happens when there are invasives. People are generally familiar with some of the natural areas around here. And as people learn their plants, they start to see, oh, I recognize that one, or this looks a little different than what we have in Romeo. And then they can kind of learn to understand those impacts of invasive species that come in that are undesirable or harmful, and can damage those natural systems for their own sake, and also the ones that we are dependent on. Yeah.
Yeah. And then a big part of it, is that human interaction and how we can learn. We also, the green space, we also want to make sure that people have a way in and to enjoy it, that it's a place that welcomes people. And that's one of the things we were talking about today is planning the landscape and, these, wonderful, clusters of flowering plants and shrubs, so that it draws people in and welcomes them. And we want to make sure that, there's an accessible way to enjoy it, so folks of all abilities can be in there. And then that mowed open space. Right now we see kids playing, and so just a place to run and play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then we're also looking at mowed paths in the savannah, which is another little sort of hide and seeky place to play. So a beautiful space. It really, and part of that human interaction is also the history, because we're all familiar with the middle school. You said you went to the junior high school there.
Yeah, I was at Romeo Middle back when it was still standing.
Yeah. My kids went to the junior high. But it's always been a place of education, and we want to make sure that continues. 1855, the Dickinson Institute was there. The old high school was built in 1880s, I think, late 1880s.
Yeah.
And then the big high school was built after 1927, and then added on to until you had this huge puzzle of buildings, which was what was brought down in 1921. But that site means so much to so many people. There's so many memories there. We've talked to folks who actually remember the original high school. And so we want to make sure that history is a part of it. You mentioned indigenous peoples, and having those pre-industrial landscapes that we can actually, any visitors, but we would like there to be, we'd like it to be an outdoor classroom.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that makes a lot of sense. And, I think the more we're able to educate people on this and use this, the more it becomes obvious that we have to be responsible for the natural areas around us. They don't take care of themselves.
Yeah.
People have been taking care of natural landscapes in North America for, probably about 10, 15,000 years now. And we can't just give up on that. It's important to keep maintaining these areas and educating and learning from our own mistakes and that type of stuff. So I'm very excited about having some signage out there talking about the history of this site, more recent history, long-term history. And then, maybe as we go through the project, there's room to have some information about potentials, what could come up, what could be done, that type of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I also, the possibility also of welcoming, classrooms,
Mhm.
making sure that, we have the capacity for, classes to actually be a part of formal education, and the hands-on learning.
Mhm.
And that's the beauty of the certified, going for a certified arboretum, is they've got all those training materials, and they have the structure that we can apply to our organization, and so that we have retained technical experts like you on our team, but then so those of us just kind of regular folks can get out there and do the day-to-day work,
Yeah.
and just it will be such a labor of love.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was, it's gonna be wonderful. We're pretty excited about it, and we have a real good feeling about it, but we would love to see whoever's going to be there at our meeting on Wednesday. We're going to get organized and get to work.
It's good.
Yeah, it's good talking to you, Joe. Thanks for being out on site today, and working on the planting plan and bringing all your expertise. It's really valuable.
Thanks for letting me be involved.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's a great project.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Hi, this is Ruth Heidebrecht, and this podcast is powered by the Mitt TV of Romeo, Michigan. If you're looking to start a podcast for your business or personal use, look no further than the Mitt TV. Their in-studio podcast experience allows you to record perfect audio and capture amazing video. That's all right here at the Mitt TV podcast studio in Romeo, Michigan. Contact them now via email for a free consultation and to schedule a studio visit at mitt.tvpodcast@gmail.com. That's mitt.tvpodcast@gmail.com.